$9.2 million in state and city funding for a teen center on the south side of Santa Fe. The teen center was something that my predecessors spoke and planned for over 10 years, and I made it my priority as city council to get the funding in place so it could finally be built. And I'm proud to say that we broke ground 2 weeks ago, and I look forward to the completion of the construction of that teen center. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is District 3 candidate, Mr. Lee Garcia.
Thank you, Stephanie. I too would like to give my gratitude to all of you for your hard work and for giving us this opportunity to address the public and let them know who we are. Good evening. My name is Lee Garcia. I am 45 years old and local businessman. Have run operations at Garcia Tires, family-run business for 45 years. Personally have been involved for the last 22. I am running for the Santa Fe City Council District 3 seat to help provide strong leadership. I know how to bring people together to get things done. To ensure your voice is heard, I am running a publicly financed campaign to demonstrate that anyone can put themselves forward and get in the race and be a contributor to our community. I recognize the challenges of Santa Fe, everything from the homelessness to public safety. We are a diverse group of people living together in unison. Political divisiveness in solving problems, I believe, has created issues within our city, and I believe it keeps our citizens from thriving. Our highly desirable District 3 corridors are very important to us, and I want to work to make them better. I am humbled and thankful for this opportunity of your consideration for my candidacy, and I humbly ask for your vote. Get out and vote, Santa Fe.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Next is District 4 candidate, Ms. Amanda Chavez.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone here for the opportunity to be here and to address our community members. Community members joining us tonight, thank you for being here and learning about the people that are working to serve you. My name is Amanda Chavez. I am a mother, an educator of 15 years, born and raised in Santa Fe. I attended Santa Fe Public Schools, and now I'm able to serve the same school system that supported me through my youth. I come from hardworking family. My parents, Tomasita and Eliseo Chavez, are the foundation of who I am today, and they demonstrate the hardworking, giving, if you're capable, and serving the community. And so that is who I am. As a principal here in Santa Fe of Cesar Chavez Elementary School, I threw myself into community efforts, taking on mental health, emotional, social health that many of our community members are challenged with. We piloted resources to these individuals, and so I really was able to witness what happens when you bring the community together to serve a population. So we worked very hard to do what students deserve, and it taught me the power. If we're able to identify a need and we come together to work on that need, the amazing things that can occur. So I've witnessed that on a small level, and I'm hoping to have the opportunity to bring it to a larger level. Really collaborative leadership, giving everybody a voice, practicing advocacy, so that the entire city of Santa Fe can thrive, be successful, and we have initiatives that are sustainable.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez.
Thank you.
And finally, District 4 candidate, Ms. Rebecca Romero.
Hello. I do want to, like everyone else, thank everybody for allowing us this chance to speak to our constituents in District 4 and District 3. My name's Rebecca Romero, and I decided to run for City Council because I want to be the voice of District 4. Many people have come to me while knocking doors and meeting everybody that District 4 doesn't have a voice. They feel forgotten, and nobody's willing to be out in that district to help clean up the infrastructure or the parks. So I want to be that voice. Little about me, I grew up in District 4. I went to elementary and middle school in District 4, went to Capitol High School. I graduated in 2002, and went to work for the private sector. I now work for the state of New Mexico with a financial background and can help with the financial status of the city of Santa Fe that I bring with that experience. I want to bring in the city employees. I want to help bring and recruit the city employees for the Santa Fe so we can get the infrastructure, the parks, and the medians, anything that relates down to District 4 and District 3 that aren't being done. I want to be able to help bring that staffing to get done. Another thing is public safety. We need to bring our safety back to our neighborhoods so our children feel safe in our parks and our neighborhoods. I do want to just be the voice and the strong advocate for District 4, as I am also an advocate for foster children in CYFD custody. So if I can be their voice, I want to be District 4's voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. We'll go on to questions now, and we'll start with Mr. Abeta. And the first question is, if you are elected on November 2nd, what will your priorities be for the next 4 years?
For the next 4 years, I would like to focus on getting the city back to bonding on a regular basis. The last time the city had a bond was in 2008, and that was for park infrastructure. There are several things that we can do with bonding. One would be we could have a bond for public safety, a bond for affordable housing, and a bond for parks and medians. So I'd like to get the city back on a regular basis of bonding every 2 years. We need to continue to provide and improve Spanish translation, particularly in District 3, because we have a diverse population who lives in District 3. We need to get the teen center built and staffed appropriately over the next 4 years. And we need a senior center in District 3. District 3 does not have a senior center. There is a senior center in every other district. We need a swimming pool in District 3. We have a swimming pool in all the other districts. We don't have that in District 3. And finally, we need trails connecting our schools to our neighborhoods, specifically on the north side of Airport Road. So those would be some of my priorities and initiatives over the next 4 years if reelected.
Thank you, Mr. Abeta. Mr. Garcia, the same question.
Top priorities for me on day one would be, first of all, I think we need to take a look at the financial status of our city, and initiatives for District 3 are bringing together places for our youth to gather safely. We have, in order to do this, we need to have a strong public safety. We have to have strong fire departments. We have to have strong departments in our city. And I think if we go back to the drawing board from a organizational standpoint, I really feel that we must take a look at how each department is run and how they are funded. Going back to our financial responsibility to our constituents and our tax-paying citizens, I think it's very important that we take a look at that. Getting money from our bonds is important, and it is a top priority. However, I do feel that we definitely need to strengthen our financial status and not be, our bond ratings will go down the later and later that we have our audits behind. That being said, the teen center is a great start. I feel that it needs to be staffed appropriately in order to keep our children safe. And I also would advocate definitely for a senior center and more connectivity between our neighborhoods on the south side. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. And Ms. Chavez, the same question.
So my focus is, first, I have a few. Affordable housing. I want to strongly advocate for equity, accessibility, and affordability across all Santa Fe's districts. I believe in really advocating for full investment in affordable housing trust, and also educating individuals on how they can access those funds for housing or resources to keep their housing or to get into a new house. Coming from the pandemic right now, I want to focus on COVID recovery, making sure families and small businesses are not left behind from recovery, working with them on grants, but also just having an open door policy to hear their concerns and see how I could advocate for them. Going door to door, one of the things that I'm sure, everyone at this table couldn't ignore was the call for public safety and really focusing on public safety. I want to be an advocate for those that serve. I want to make sure that we're giving them the training, we're giving them the resource they need to be safe and to serve our city properly, and that we're getting creative with funding so we have more funding going towards public safety. And as an educator, of course, my focus is youth. I believe if we want to create change in Santa Fe that's sustainable, we have to tie everything back to youth. If we have holes in our workforce, we have to create pathways for our youth. If we want them to pay attention to, the ways that we're conserving water and resources, we have to start with educating our youth. So I think I want to bring that perspective to the city if given the opportunity of, yes, starting these initiatives that are good for Santa Fe now, but also focusing on the youth so that they could sustain those initiatives we start.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez.
Thank you.
And Ms. Romero, same question.
So if I were to be elected, I would definitely look at the staffing issues that we have within the state. Not only are we down 250 plus positions for the city of Santa Fe, which comes from the water division to Parks and Rec to, Buckman Station. We need to have full staffed departments throughout the city so that we can maintain our city and be able to operate as a city, as the capital city of New Mexico. So we really need to look at the staffing. That also goes back as public safety is a major one. We're down 48 positions in the police department and we need to get them fully staffed. We need to also look at the recruitment wise on how we're not able to keep our police departments or even our city employees. We need to bring that trust back to our community to make sure that we keep our city employees happy and so that they can work for generations and their children and then their children. We need to make sure that we have the affordable housing so that we can keep a police officer within their neighborhood so it's a deterrent to the community and the crime that we have. I also want to work with the budget, bringing in the financial background that I have, be able to bring in revenue to the city so that we have the local businesses that are able to run and bring in revenue that are non-governmental jobs to Santa Fe, so we aren't in the predicament that we have as another COVID or another pandemic happens, that we have that revenue coming to Santa Fe. I definitely want to make sure that we become a united city and not a divided city as we already have been for many years.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This next question is from a high school student. And before I ask the question, I want to say that we were very lucky to be able to survey some high school students at Capitol High, and they submitted a lot of questions. But what was very interesting is they had 3 topics were at the top of their list. 70% of the questions were about homelessness. 57% were about violent crime, and 48% were about drugs. So these are the issues on the minds of our youth. So this question is a 1-minute question. It's from a student. Is it possible to create another facility for the homeless to stay at and remove them from our streets due to the dangers of their wandering around? And I would like to ask Mr. Garcia to address that question, please.
Thank you. I believe we need to combat homelessness in Santa Fe head on. The population of Santa Fecinos warrant our full attention, and I believe that they are in very much need of help. A couple of things that I've thought about over the last few years is what takes a person to be homeless, and I believe it's a 5-step process. Well, we need to create a 5-step process out of homelessness, and having a task force of people that can be mentors to them, identifying what each person's issues are and what has created them to be homeless, I think is very, very important in identifying that. And I believe, yes, creating a place where they can be, and not only that, but accountability is a big portion of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. And Ms. Chavez, same question.
This is is a very important subject to me because of my mental health background. I'm very proud of the city for some of the initiatives we have started in regards to homelessness, one being Built for Zero, which is a national initiative which focuses on getting to know these community members individually, knowing their needs, and addressing their needs so that they can get back up on their feet. I believe we have to work on wraparound services, warm handoffs, giving them the resources they need to not only have a home, but be able to keep it, be able to find that success in their lives. I also think the alternative response unit that we have, we need to put more funding into it so that we could expand it, but I think that's a good start for Santa Fe. I think we have a great plan, we have great initiatives in place, but we have to be very intentional in making sure that we are carrying those out successfully. And if we're able to do that, I think we'd see a very positive impact in that population.
Thank you. And Ms. Romero, same question.
So homelessness is a large issue in District 4. A lot of the constituents that I have met, brought that as the #1 priority. What I want to do, if elected, I want to look at the different facilities that we have, whether it's continuing using the Consuelos place that's at Midtown and extending that contract, or helping them find the resources that they need to get back onto their feet. Right now, a lot of constituents don't know is that we aren't giving them enough funding, or they don't have enough resources to be able to talk or to get the help. The alternative response unit is a good start. Other than having a caseworker in that alternative response, we should have a social worker, so the social worker can get more depth into what the issue is and why they became homeless, to be able to help the issues instead of just a caseworker.
Thank you. And Mr. Abinda?
Yes.
Response.
Yes, in fact, this administration, we have assisted with the purchase of Santa Fe Suites. So the direct answer to the question is yes, we could, and we have put up a building for homeless. As Ms. Chavez stated, Built for Zero is a national program. The point of the program is to eliminate homelessness. And the way you do that is by, first of all, putting a name to who the person is, finding out what that person's problem is, why they are homeless, and then providing them with the resources so that they can take the next step from homelessness to living in a home. Our alternative response unit is not only a step towards in that direction, but it also is relieving pressure off of our police. 70% of our calls are homeless calls. And instead of going to car burglaries or maybe a suspicious activity in a neighborhood, they have been stuck dealing with homeless calls. And so I support our alternative response unit, and I think we need to, now that it's been up and running for the last 6 months, we need to meet with that unit and our police and see what changes we need to make moving forward so that we can have an even greater impact.
Thank you, Mr. Abinda. The next question is a 1-minute question, and we'll start with Ms. Chavez. The League of Women Voters of Santa Fe County has made promoting civil discourse a priority this year. What should the mayor and/or city council do to demonstrate their commitment to civil discourse in Santa Fe?
As a leader, I practice collaborative leadership, and I feel like voice is so important. Allowing members of the community to be part of conversations, to having open door policy, getting the right people to the table to have important conversations so we could make the best choices for Santa Fe is necessary. It takes that. It takes bringing the community in to identify a need, and that means us doing the outreach to hear from the community and getting the important people at a table to address the need of Santa Fe. So I would promote it because I think it's the only way we can make a difference here is if we have that civil discourse, if we have those important conversations, if everyone that needs to have a voice has a voice and feels like they can be heard, including those that haven't practiced their voice yet. We need to empower them to know that there's people listening and there's people that care about what they have to say.
Thank you. Ms. Romero, your response.
So I believe 100% that District 4 has been forgotten. A lot of our constituents say nobody listens to them. They want somebody who's gonna fight for them or be their voice and speak for them. We need to bring that communication back to either our current administration or to the new administration that's gonna be coming in. But we need to be able to open up our doors to them to be able to speak and help with their ideas and bring our community back to number one and being united. Right now, we have so many issues right now that we can't get anybody in our current administration to be able to help them until they start to listen. And we need to be that voice, and we need to have those ears open for us to listen.
Thank you. Mr. Obeto.
I believe it starts with the city council and the mayor. We need to set the example. I am currently working on an initiative with Councilwoman Romero Worth and Councilwoman Cassett regarding good governance and what good governance looks like. And I think if re-elected and we're able to bring a lot of those changes forward to make our meetings more efficient, to give the public the ability to speak at 7 o'clock when they're supposed to speak at 7 o'clock, as opposed to now 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or even if at all. So I think it starts with us, and I am working on an initiative to improve that.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. Civil discourse, I believe a lot of times is created by not having information to our people and good information that they can decipher. Community engagement is definitely very, very important. Outreach programs for people to get involved and participate in the issues that are at hand, issues that are very, very important to them, from cultural to whatever your issue is with our city. And I think that more outreach is needed, and giving them that platform that's organized, well thought out, and giving them the platform to speak what they have. Thank you. With their mind.
Thank you. This next question is a 2-minute question, and we'll start with Ms. Romero. What are your ideas for addressing the conflict between development and scarce water?
This has been the second time somebody's asked me this question. My ideas is to be able to look at the development that needs to come in. We need to look at the different areas, and we need to look at the water that we have. Right now, we just have a bunch of apartment buildings popping up everywhere, and we're not doing the research, and we're not doing the background of what we need to do to find out where we are with our water. We need to look at different properties or different land that we can put housing, and not just apartments. We need to look at housing, and we need to look at the way that this program is written out, honestly. You know, the development and the water is a big issue to a lot of people on the south side, District 4 and District 3. And the only reason I say District 3 is because we are a neighboring district, so we have to work together because we are the south side of town. But we definitely need to look at the different codes, and we need to upgrade our codes, and we need to look into the research, and we need to work with other entities like the state of New Mexico to be able to bring light to where we are with our water.
Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Obeto.
Santa Fe has actually been a leader when it comes to water and water conservation. 10 years ago, we were using up to 13,000 acre feet a year. Today, we are using 9,000 acre feet a year. And the reason we are doing that is because we do have innovative policies. We do have green building codes. We have 4 sources of water. We have the Buckman direct diversion. We've got the Buckman well fields. We've got the Santa Fe Reservoir, and we got the Santa Fe well fields. I co-sponsored a resolution with Councilwoman Romero Worth to explore a return flow pipeline. That'll be a 5th source of water. So Santa Fe is actually doing very well when it comes to water, and we will continue to do that. Now, we have seen a lot of development, a lot of apartment buildings. We need a green code, and I plan on sponsoring a green code in my next term for apartments, so that apartments are built using less water. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, your response.
Thank you. Water is such a precious resource that it must be managed properly, especially in a city that is growing so fast. I believe that responsible building, responsible construction of neighborhoods, placing density where it needs to be placed, and really thinking about how we can control and keep this precious resource for everyone to attain. And so I really believe that, and I do know that through the green building efforts and through water conservation really, really helps. I think one of the big things in a city, especially as old as we are, is to take a look at our infrastructure and see where the possible deficits are. Old infrastructure possibly could waste a lot of water. Going in reverse from the usage over the past years, I believe still will be increased by the amount of construction that has happened over the last couple. So I think it's very important that we really take a look at where we are now and where are we going to be in 10 years. It's so precious to not only us but our pueblos that are surround us, and I think it's something that definitely deserves our full attention. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Chavez.
I want to say I really appreciate this question because we are stuck in a situation where we need affordable housing, which means an increase in development, and then we have concerns about water. And I think the place to start is bringing our leadership together to look at the general plan and the city code and looking at the growth of Santa Fe. I know a few months ago we were going to examine that, but then there was changes in leadership and that's been on hold. But we really need to examine the growth of Santa Fe, and we need to bring the people that are working on water. We have so many organizations that have done studies that can tell us what to do, how to navigate our growth. I'll say it over and over again, if we bring the right people to the table to have these conversations, we could make the kind of change that Santa Fe needs. And I think we have those people as community members to the city who can help us with that. But really looking at our growth. We're definitely not the same city that we were when the general plan and our city code was created. So how are we going to face that truth and look at it and make those changes necessary so it could serve Santa Fe today and the growth we're headed in? But I think just close examination of that, bringing all of those organizations that have been a resource to us in regards to water conservation, I think if we do those things, it'll become less of a concern.
Thank you. This next question is from a high school student again. This is a 2-minute question, and we'll start with Mr. Abeka. How are you guys going to improve, meaning stop, gun violence with our team? And are you guys going to work harder for the families who have lost their children due to gun violence?
Last Thursday at approximately 10:30 in the morning, right outside of my office, there was a drive-by shooting at the Bluffs. I was a witness to that drive-by, and it was a teen or teens in a car, through the sunroof, stuck his hand out, shot 3 rounds into the Bluffs. We need to do a better job of providing resources for our teens, a place for our teens to feel welcome, to feel like they're a part of the community. And the teen center is one of the places we can start. Last year during COVID, our teens didn't have much to do. They were having to be shut down like the rest of us. We opened the Boys and Girls Clubs in the evening after Ivan Perez was shot and murdered in the Bluffs across from the Boys and Girls Clubs. The end of the summer last year, the teens got together, they did an art project. We helped them with that project. We showed up, we provided them dinner on those nights that they were meeting. When it was time to reveal the projects and the art project that they did, We had dinner with them. The mayor attended with me, and we met the family of Mr. Perez. I was criticized over social media, accused of having dinner with gangsters and gangbangers. I was having dinner with teens who come from single-family homes, teens that are being raised by grandparents, in some cases great-grandparents. We need to continue to build more centers like the teen center so that they have a place where they can feel like they are part of our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. The youth of our communities are our future generations. They're the contributors to our city, to our economy, to our future. And I believe that having a place for them to go is absolutely necessary, and I commend having the teen center plans in our district. Greatly needed. To add to that, I really feel that it's more community involvement, more mentorships with our families, more outreach to them, saying, hey, there are alternatives to do things rather than just running around in the streets and creating violence and crime. Look, I had a person that was murdered right outside of my business establishment a couple of years ago. He was visiting from Michigan, walking his dog, got a confrontation with a young group of teenagers. The outcome wasn't so good. He was shot and killed. And so I 100% believe it starts in the home. I think that we need to get more information out to families, not only just all families, Spanish-speaking, multilingual. They need to know that they have support, and I feel very, very adamant about bringing more programs to them and having them staffed appropriately with the right people to keep them safe. That is one of the things at the top of my agenda. We experienced a death, a very close friend of ours that was murdered due to drug and gun violence. And so that hits very, very close to me and people around me. I have a lot of work to do.
Thank you. Ms. Chavez.
I think there are multiple things that are necessary for this. When we talk about the increase in violence amongst our youth, I like to mention the statistics we have as a state. We are ranked last in education, and we are ranked as one of the worst states to raise a child. I think the issue with that is trauma. We need to have resources. I appreciate the teen center. I'm really excited the Boys and Girls Club is expanding into Santa Fe Place, where our teens hang out. But we need to create resources for them so that they have an adult that can be a mentor and can put them on the right track, have that relationship to get them out of the cycle of trauma. Because I really think that is the root cause of what we're facing. I think that we also need to be more intentional about our after-school programming and our summer programming. I would love to see programming for our youth that creates career pathways. So not only are we getting these children mentors, but we're putting them on a track for their future, something to get excited about, something to become interested in school again. So I want us to be more intentional with our programming. But I also advocate for gun safety. I think children need to be more informed in regards to gun safety. I think parents do, adults do. I would advocate for that. How easily a child can get a gun right now, as we have seen so many teens in the news because of this, is ridiculous. And we're not talking enough about the fact that we aren't doing enough in regards to gun safety. We have to be that voice, we have to be that education, we have to bring it into the schools and to the homes. That is a huge aspect that we can't leave out. So we need to address trauma, mental health, social, emotional health, but we also need to educate. Those two things together could eliminate this.
Thank you. Ms. Romero.
Gun violence is a bad situation. One of our greatest basketball players here in Santa Fe was killed from a gun. And he was going places, and it's unfortunate to see this happen in Santa Fe. We need to bring awareness to our schools again, not only just in high schools, but we need to bring it back into our middle schools. We need to bring educators back in to speak about it, to talk about it, give them the resources. We also need to tighten our gun regulations. We need to make sure that if anybody under the age of 18 or 21 is getting a gun and is causing these violent crimes, we need to also hold their parents accountable. There's got to be some kind of way that we can make it aware, that we can show them that we can do better and our children deserve better. We can't just allow a 13-year-old to walk around Santa Fe or a 15-year-old shooting out of cars to be able to say that's okay and that's the life they live. We need to be able to give them the resources. You know, not only is the teen center a good thing to have, that's going to be opening, but why was not the Geneva Chavez Center not open? Why wasn't the Bicentennial Pool not open this summer? They got bored and they made the wrong friends and they looked for things to do that they think is a good idea. We need to give them those resources back to do things. And we need to do it right away, because this is getting out of hand with the gun violence, and we need to make sure that we get it under control.
Thank you. This next question is a 1-minute question, and we'll start with Mr. Garcia. Creating more affordable housing has been on the priority list as long as I can remember. Why is it still such an issue, and what would you suggest we do?
Thank you. So, I've spent 4 years on the Planning Commission looking at developments, trying to make sense do these make sense where they're being placed? Is the density correct? Is it not correct? And I think that density has a lot to do with creating affordable housing. Supply, demand, price, you take a look at the economics, that is definitely the reason. So how do we create more supply in Santa Fe without overburdening our water supply, overburdening our police departments, overburdening our fire departments, overburdening so many different things? And so it has to be done responsibly. I get asked time and time again, I can't buy a house in Santa Fe for less than $400,000. I think there was an article in the paper today that said median price for houses south of St. Francis hit $400,000. We can't afford. People that work in the city can't afford that.
I'm afraid
So,
we're out of time.
thank you.
But thank you very much. Ms. Chavez.
So I really think that we need to advocate as city leaders for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and we need to find continuous funding for that. I also think we need the transparency and the education about how that fund can help community members. I said this earlier, but a lot of community members don't know how to access those funds or how they can help them. The general plan and land use code are going to have to be, we have to focus on that. If we want mixed use neighborhoods, if we want to increase density, we're going to have to look at those things and whether or not they're meeting our needs for who we are as a city today. I think we need to improve the permit process, city customer service, making sure that that process is easy and appealing to developers. City needs to increase and continue and increase its dedication of land to potential interested developers. We need to help the developers in affordable housing.
Thank you. Ms. Romero.
So if we want to be able to fix our affordable housing, or what we can do better, is we need to look at the allotted percentage of affordable housing that is allotted to these developers. 15% is the minimum or the maximum that you can give to a developer, or it can be less because they have the in lieu of. If we're going to have the in lieu of with the contractors and the developers, we need to look at how we can make affordable housing the percentage from 15% of the apartments or the buildings or the homes to 30% or to 25%. We need to be able to look at the way we need to get more affordable housing and not what the developer wants. We need to think of our community, not a developer who's making millions off of developing houses or apartments.
Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Aveda.
Thank you. The city of Santa Fe has an affordable housing trust fund. We need to find a permanent funding source for that. The city's operating budget is $300 million. I am proposing that we commit 1% of our annual operating budget, which would be approximately $3 million. We need to extend specifically in District 3 infrastructure for Phase 3 of Tierra Contenta. We also have an opportunity with the development of the Midtown campus to provide housing. We've done a really good job as a city with first-time home buyers, but there is a gap, and the gap is with middle-class or workforce housing. We need to extend our opportunities to police, fire, and teachers so that they can stay working in Santa Fe and living in Santa Fe.
Thank you. That's a nice segue to the next question, which we'll address first to Ms. Chavez. And that is, plans for the development of the Midtown campus seem to have dragged on with no end in sight. What do you think the city should do to get this important project back on track? What would you like to see done with that property?
I think we need to,
Oh, sorry, 1 minute.
1 minute, thank you. We need to start making those conversations actions, but we have to get to planning. What is that planning gonna be? I would like to see Midtown be a city hub. I would like to see City Hall at the center of the city with city resources and city departments and multi-use housing, where the leaders of the city are with the community they serve. It would allow for more equity in regards to access to city leaders. I think it would improve opportunity to access community resources. And I feel like that's what we have to look at. What does the community as a whole, all of Santa Fe need, and how can we use this opportunity with Midtown to provide them exactly what that is?
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Romero.
My vision for Midtown would be an attraction other than just downtown to bring people to our the Midtown of Santa Fe. I want to be able to bring non-governmental jobs to that business area, to be able to bring in, support our local business owners that can't afford business shops downtown, get them a shop down in the Midtown, open up restaurants, open up businesses for them, make it an attraction so that people can not only just visit downtown, but they're visiting all of Santa Fe. They're seeing how beautiful our city is and how well it can grow. So having it as an attraction to be able to grow and bring in revenue would be a great idea for Santa Fe.
Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Ravi.
Last year, the city of Santa Fe put together an RFI. We discovered that the Midtown campus has over $30 million in infrastructure needs. It is an old campus. I would propose that we put a consolidated city hall at Midtown campus that would, one, provide an anchor for future development of the campus. And in order to do that, I would propose that in November of 2022, we put a bond question in front of the voters to see if they would be willing to support not only a consolidated city campus, but also in the $30 million that is going to be needed to upgrade the infrastructure throughout the rest of the property.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. So Midtown campus, right in the center of the city, as the city has grown. I believe that while I would support moving city offices and possibly City Hall down to Midtown, I really believe that taking a look at how that property is zoned, possibly creating land lease opportunities for people so the city continues to contain ownership of that property. And let the community get involved. I believe there already is a process, and there have been many meetings that the community can participate in and give their ideas. We are in desperate need of places for our families to go live, work, and play. And so if we can take all that into consideration, whether it be City Hall, whether it be opportunities for businesses, mixed-use properties and so on, I think that is very, very important for us to take a look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, this is a question about finances, and we'll start with Ms. Romero. It's a 1-minute question. If elected, what specific steps would you take to put our city on a firmer financial footing?
Well, working in government right now, I know the deadlines and how strict guidelines are, and even just knowing how fiscal year works, when it comes to state and federal fiscal year, I know how tight we need to get these answers. I know that I would work closely with the administration to be able to make sure our audits are on time and we don't have any findings, or at least we have minimal findings that we can correct immediately. We as a city should not have the findings that we have right now in our current audit that was released yesterday. We need to be better, and I know that with my financial background, we can all work together in a new administration to make these better.
Mr. Abeka.
The city of Santa Fe's audit, we were granted an unmodified opinion. That is the best opinion you could have. Furthermore, the audit stated that we are physically sound and our financial position is strong. Now, yes, the audit was late, but we were faced with a choice of either distributing $17 million in CARES Act funding or getting the audit done. We chose to get the CARES Act funding distributed instead. Yes, there were findings in that audit, but the serious findings were limited to our federal grants and our process for processing federal grants. So we need to create a focus in that area, but otherwise the city, if you actually read the audit and you understand how audits work, we had an unmodified position and we have a strong financial position. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you for that question. So when it comes to financial stability, it is very important that we submit our information properly and right. And so I think we need to take a look from an organizational standpoint and find out what were the pieces that made this audit late. Now, we've all looked at it, unmodified opinion with over 20 material weaknesses. And in those weaknesses, they do identify what the recommendations are to resolve them. And so I would challenge anybody to go out there and take a look. I would definitely be a very big proponent of obviously supporting good organizational structure and qualified personnel that can take that on and be responsible for it. As a council and governing body, we should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a two, sorry.
I haven't
I'm
spoken.
sorry.
No, you're fine,
Mr.
you're fine.
Ms. Chavez, go ahead.
I agree. I think that it's important to dive in to the budget, understand it. I think that, I have experience in regards to budget as a leader, and it's very different in education. So I look forward to hopefully having an opportunity to learn more in regards to the city. But something that I found success in examining spending and finances and education is really examining needs and making sure you're putting money in the right places. If you're putting money in the right places, then it's going to be spent appropriately. And I feel like that backward design model that you often see in education would be a successful model for the city to examine. Where are the needs within our departments and budgeting accordingly to that, so there's organization and we know that money's there for a reason. I think there's more success when we could tie meaning to the way we're spending.
Thank you. And I apologize for
No,
losing
please.
track.
We're working on this together.
Next question, and we'll address this first to Mr. Abeka. I don't know what to think about the tearing down of the obelisk, the way the city handled that, and what we should do to resolve the conflict that is created in the community. What do you think we should do? 2 minutes.
I think we need to participate in the chart process. There are several different opinions regarding statues and monuments. We are living in a Santa Fe that is different, that is more diverse than even the Santa Fe I grew up in. Now, we got to remember what we were dealing with, not only as a community, but as a country. 2 days before the Don Diego de Vargas statue was removed, someone was shot in Albuquerque over the Oñate statue. Now, it's easy to sit here and play Monday morning quarterback and say, I would have done this different, I would have done that. But at the end of the day, decisions had to be made. They were made, whether you agree or disagree. You have an opportunity to participate in where we go from here, and that is through our chart process. And the other thing that I need to remind the public of is, as city councilors, we didn't have say in what happened and what the decision was. That falls with the mayor and the chief of police. We gave our opinions, and we will continue to give our opinions, but ultimately it was the decision of the mayor and the chief of police. Whether, again, you agree or disagree, you have an opportunity to talk about where we go from here through our chart process. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. Protesting and being vocal in our community is definitely the right of everyone. It's a freedom. Where I draw the line is when it becomes criminal. And I think that we do have a police force that should be able and capable to handle that. My views on the obelisk, the Soldiers Monument, is that it's been here over 130 some years, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel, okay, the Soldiers Monument is in the historical district. I'll take an example. You run into somebody's property and knock down their wall. Well, by rule, you're supposed to put that wall back up the same way that it was. I'm not opposed to change. I think that through good community involvement and proper information from people who are concerned about these type of issues need to participate and be involved with it. The surrounding members of our pueblos and so on, I think are very important to be contributors to that conversation. As well as the many people who have moved here to Santa Fe and our local Hispanics. Our local Hispanics have been feel very not welcome in their own home anymore. And I really believe that we need some healing with this, and I really feel that everybody needs to get involved. If you have something that's concerning about it, get involved and talk to your counselors, talk to your people, talk to the ones that are in charge of this chart process now that it's been approved. And so get involved. I really do feel we need to get involved.
Thank you. Ms. Chavez.
I believe the chart process is an opportunity for us to become educated and to practice empathy. I wish it was something that took place before we had the event occur with Obelisk. I think that if we did have that and we were able to see the deep-rooted trauma that was there in our history, and we understood that and could have approached that collaboratively, that would have been best. That is not where we're at now. Now we have, two sides of trauma, the trauma of history and the trauma of, Santa Feans who really grew up with this culture, like myself, feeling like they were robbed of something. And I think that chart can bring those two sides together. It's not going to be easy, but it will take community involvement where we start practicing understanding each other's perspective. We practice empathy. We're a very diverse city. This should be a practice that we do often. And I think the city can really be an example of that, can foster those conversations and encourage that healthy conversation so that what we hope comes from the chart process is success and an understanding and healing. Because like Mr. Garcia said, I think that there is a lot of healing that needs to take place, and this is an opportunity to have that occur.
Thank you. Ms. Romero.
If elected and I had a decision or I needed to work with administration to be able to find a way to be able to replace it, or what I would do, I would not put it back up. I know that Mr. Garcia said, you know, the wall's knocked down, you build it, you put it back up. I think with the momentum behind this and the story behind why it's there, the history behind it is kind of, it's disheartening in some way. It hurts people's feelings, but it also is a reminder of how we grew as a community. I think putting a different monument there of how we got to where we got with our community, how we're able to grow, live, work, and just be the friends that we have, or the friendship that we have as this community, the strong community that we have with surrounding reservations and pueblos, would be a great way to be able to look at this and have tourists or have visitors come in and say, okay, well, what is this all about? You know, read about it. This happened back 100-some years ago. Now we got to this point, it was torn down. This is a reminder of how we became the strong community that we are, and we work with each other, and we love each other, and grow with each other as a state, and not only as just the state, but the capital city of Santa Fe.
Thank you, thank you. This question is about performance of the Santa Fe's governing body in the last few years. And it's a 1-minute question, and we start with Mr. Garcia. How would you rate the performance of the city of Santa Fe's governing body over the last 3 years? And what would you say are its most significant accomplishments?
So rating the performance of the governing body, it is my belief, and just looking at it from the constituent standpoint, I believe we need a lot of work. You look at crime rates rising throughout the city, gun violence, drug abuse. You look at our homelessness. The list goes on. And so when you take a look at leadership, you want to take a look at what is the end result and how is it being affected by making the proper decisions. And I really feel that we need some work, and one of the reasons why I am running. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chavez.
I have a lot of respect for the governing body. I think that they're dedicated public servants, and I think that is very apparent. They represent their districts well. They advocate for their districts. I think where we can improve is, instead of coming in with our district, we come in with, these are the needs of Santa Fe, now how do we all put our heads together to actually make things possible for change? I feel like every person has great intention for the people that they represent, but we really want improvement to occur across all of Santa Fe. So I think assessing the needs of our district, bringing those needs, and really looking at it together, what are our priorities, and how can we support each other to actually get it done? If there was more collaboration, again, collaborative leadership at the governing body level, I think we would accomplish more a lot faster.
Thank you. Ms. Romero.
Thank you. Just the way Mr. Garcia looked at it, I'm gonna look at it as a constituent aspect. I think change needs to happen. I think there was a lot of things that were a mishap. There was mistrust from our governing body. And I think that destroyed the city and has divided our city because there is no trust from our governing body. Constituents in District 4, all I heard was, no one's listening to us. Nobody is answering their phones. I can't get a hold of my counselor. I'm not getting the help. And we need to change that. And if that means we need change, then we need to be changed. We need to change it. We need to change it immediately.
Thank you. Mr. Abeyta.
I think overall the mayor and the council did great. I think we're forgetting we were in this administration, this council, this mayor, we experienced a global pandemic, and a pandemic that affected local government. We were shut down completely. We had no idea what effect that was going to have on our economy, on our budget. And in spite of this, we continued to stay open. We processed a record number of building permits, thankfully to our big thanks and shout out to our building permit staff. Our police continued to provide, and fire provide public safety. And so I think given the challenges that we had to take on over this last 4 years, we did a really good job.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Ms. Chavez. The 1-minute question, and we're going to ask you to spread your wings and think big.
Oh.
If you received $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
That is a big, I think I would invest in our youth. I think that it seems like it's a large amount, but we all know that it's not when you're serving a large public or a large group. But I think with the community partners we have right now, really focusing on our youth is key. And you could say I say that because I'm an educator, but I say it also because I'm just a realist in the fact that they're our future. If we're not investing in our youth, if we're not improving their mental health, if we're not improving their opportunities, if we're not reaching inside their homes and helping that environment as well, we're going just to be doing work on this side, but by the time the youth makes it, we're gonna have to start that work all over again. So I think it's important, and I would, hands down, invest that into our youth, making sure that Santa Fe's future is bright, starting with them.
Thank you. Mr. Romero, what would you do with that $1 million?
I would definitely put it into our homelessness and to our mental health issues. I would definitely allocate this funding to resources to be able to get, the mental health issue patients or the homelessness, the help that they need, whether it's medication to food or to clothing, or if they're on the verge of becoming homeless, being able to help them pay that month's rent or 3 months rent, to be able to give them that resource, to give that money to be able to help those resources and have that extra funding in it would be something that I would look into.
Thank you. Mr. Abeta, what would you do?
I would put it towards the Mayor's Guaranteed Income Initiative. The Mayor's Guaranteed Income Initiative is going to provide $400 a month to single mothers who are attending the Santa Fe Community College. That funding is going to run out. That $1 million would go to continue that program. Plus, the other good thing about this program is it'll also serve as a model for other things, investing in child care assistance for single parents, programs for our youth, and programs for our homeless.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you for the question. And one of the biggest things that I see as a growing city is the availability of able-bodied people to work. And so investing in economic development and job force development for our youth and for people who need job skills to get in and provide the services that people need. And so we have to, as a city, take a look at what brings us income. Well, we rely heavily on tourism, but I also feel that diversification of GRT from industry that can be brought in and having viable workforces would be definitely a very big asset to our community. They provide the goods and services that we all need to live. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for wonderful answers to a whole variety of questions here. It's really the gamut. We'll now move to the 2-minute closing statements. And I'd like to start with Ms. Romero. And then we'll follow on in reverse order. Go ahead, Ms. Romero.
I just want District 4 constituents to know that I hear you when you're telling me that no one's listening. I'm listening. I want to be the advocate to be able to get your infrastructure taken care of, your parks taken care of, get the affordable housing in District 4 better. I hear you, and I want to be that person to fight for you. I had a discussion today about District 4. We have a lot of the elderly community in District 4, and they don't have the means to be able to use a computer if they know how to use the newer computers, or email or text, and they still have landlines. And so to be able to bring that communication back to District 4 so that they can pick up a phone and talk to someone to be able to get the resources done, or their complaint to City Hall is something that I want to bring back. So we are giving that communication and that openness to District 4. I want District 4 to know that I will fight for you, and I'm your girl for District 4.
Thank you. Ms. Chavez.
I have been a leader in education where I work by putting the people at the heart of what I do, those people being students, a lot of students, large spectrum of students, and I found success in that. I found success in being a thought partner with community members. I've had success in collaborative efforts and making a difference. I've lived through those successes and seen growth with those people that we were keeping our focus on. And I feel like I could bring that and have the constituents of District 4 and all of the city, because like I said, I really believe we need to look at the larger picture as well in collaboration as city council. But I really want to be that voice for District 4, keeping them at the heart of what I do if elected, being their voice, having that open door policy, knowing that I'm listening and also that I'm acting. We could listen all day, but we also have to show them that we will be acting. And I want to do that for this district. I see potential. I've learned so much going door to door. I tell people I can't stay in a house like shorter than about 30 minutes because we have great conversations. And the thought partners we have as a city council are in these homes. They're in our community. We just have to listen. They present issues, but they solve those issues just in one conversation. So we have a very knowledgeable community. We have great community resources, and I feel like I'm the person to bring all of that together to make Santa Fe as the greatest it's ever been. So I ask for your vote. Also, if you haven't voted in the past, please let me empower you. You do have a voice that we care about. You do make a difference. So if you haven't, now's your time. Vote. Make sure that you have the right people in office representing you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
I want to thank everybody that has tuned in to listen to us give our ideas and letting us be a part of your evening tonight. I want to give a shout out to all the city workers that have worked diligently over the last couple of years, especially through the pandemic, that have worked hard to keep our streets clean and work in our parks and so on and so forth. They merit the safety, adequate training, and equitable pay structures that match our local economic demands. I believe that all the problems that we have, or not necessarily problems, but things that we need to work on, are only attainable through good fiscal responsibility, good organizational structure, and a city government that will definitely be there to listen to the people directly what their issues are. And so the only way we're able to implement programs that we've talked about tonight is through having a good, sound fiscal base, through a good organizational chart structure, and having our dedicated employees, workforce of the city, and all contributors of our community. And so if it's a small business that contributes to the tax structure, or it's the person who cleans our parks, I think everybody is important. I challenge everybody to get out there and vote, because your vote is your voice. And we all have the responsibility as neighbors to keep each other safe, watch out for each other, and get involved with our government, get involved with our committees that are around, and just be contributing to our local economy and our local community. And so again, I thank you all for your time, and get out and vote, Santa Fe. I kindly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Abeyta.
Thank you. I want to specifically thank the candidates that are up here with me this evening. Mr. Garcia, for getting involved. One thing that I have advocated for, and something we talked about when he reached out to me to tell me he was going to run, was the importance of people, particularly in District 3, participating in their government. And I am proud that over the past 4 years, I have brought city council meetings to the Southside Library. I brought an early voting site to the Southside Library. 4 years ago, you couldn't vote early at the Southside Library. You can starting next week. Tonight, you heard me talk about return flow credit pipeline, Built for Zero, a homeless reduction program, an alternative response unit, the mayor's guarantee for income, Tierra Contenta Phase 3, the Midtown campus, our affordable housing trust fund, the teen center that we are all proud of. But my work isn't done yet. Our work isn't done yet. I would ask that you vote for me to send me back to City Hall to represent you, because I think there is still plenty for us to do. We need a senior center in District 3. We need trails in District 3. We need greater Spanish translation in District 3. And I think we have a lot of momentum. We've done a good job as a city, given the fact that we had to deal with a global pandemic. And I look forward to the next 4 years representing you as your city councilor. Thank you, and good evening.
Thank you all. And that concludes this evening's City Council Districts 3 and 4 candidate forum. Please join me in thanking all the candidates for their participation and the Santa Fe New Mexican for broadcasting the forum. It will be available for future streaming on the New Mexican's website, sfnewmexican.com, and on our website, www.lwvsfc.org. And as all the candidates have said, be sure to make your voice heard in this election by voting, early or absentee, at the polls on November 2nd. Good night.